Oi, oi. Episode 2 of Anti-Post Insight.
Not another one?
Just really wanted to talk about a few selections that have been put out by people, as I said I was going to do before. Talk a little bit about where we are in the season and what things to keep an eye on for the short term. And there is one that I have had a little investment in.
It's happening. Everybody stay calm.
Now with that, I just want to make sure it's clear to everyone that if there's one that I want to get stuck into, I'm going to share the video instantly. This is very much a bet, which I'll go on to, where I like the horse. I can see lots of positives from my perspective in a price element. I can see a reasonable argument why not to back this horse too. Excuse me. So you see how nervous I get with the talking about a bet. So yeah, within that, like I didn't want to put it up as a bet and get people chucking in, but I'm saying it now. So anyone that's watching this, it's not specifically about that bet, but the bet's in there. If you want to have a little dip in, whether you agree with me or not. Look, I've watched the Finishing Line podcast, didn't I? Pink jumpers, isn't it?
Oh, friend!
So this time of year, definitely start looking for yourself at entries. Lots of people will tweet and put things out there about who might be going where, but just look at them yourselves, okay? Because it doesn't take very long to do it. Obviously, about maybe 10:30, 11, we'll get the declarations for 48 hours time, so for 2 days in advance. And then maybe 1, 2 o'clock. So the afternoon, you can have a check and the Racing Post site will show you the entries later on. Now, I used to do Monday in the morning to look at the entries and the decks for in the middle of the week, but you could look up to basically Friday, and then I'd wait for the afternoon to look at Saturday and Sunday, and then on a Tuesday I'd have a look at the Irish stuff for the weekend, because the Irish weekend stuff comes out on a Tuesday. So do it yourself would be my advice. We can have trackers and all those sort of things to see when horses are declared, but sometimes you can get a lot of information in seeing horses when they maybe don't run, so they might be entered in lots of things coming up, and it gives you a feel for this horse is probably ready to go. And then when there are ground conditions and things as well, you might see a lot of these horses that aren't necessarily pulled out as non-runners, but are pulled out because they don't make it to declaration stage because whatever, right, the conditions aren't right, or there was a horse to potentially avoid. They will be informative going forward if you want to think that a horse might be over the top, or you might want to be able to make a bit of an excuse for it. So you might say, this horse was ready in the second week of October, but the ground wasn't right till December. So you'll know that by looking at the entries. And by, again, looking at them, you'll get more familiar with names and all that sort of stuff. So it does take a little bit of time, not very long though, genuinely, 10 minutes? Like a day, and that's if you do it every day. You don't even need to. You could do it on Monday, like I say. So just start doing that. Have a look at them. I'm not going to peel off all the entries that are going out there, but there's some nice names going about. And looking at that, I'm going to quickly show you some stuff on here now. Just because we're at the start of the season, where racing's starting to ramp up a bit, we're starting to get excited. I just want to show you the Grade 1 programme. Of course, Britain, we have the same-ish about as Ireland. We do have a couple more, but we'll look at the names that are in here. Like November, we've got the Betfair Chase, decent race. A Plutard's going to be in there. It looks like it'll be a very good race this year. Then we've got some other ones like Fight and Fifth, could be Constitution Hill, Henry VIII Novices Chase, Tingle Creek, but they're all good. Long Walk, Novices Hurdle, the Novices Chase, the Counter Star, I love it, the Feltham. Christmas Hurdle could be good this year. There's lots of nice races in there. King George is going to be sick, isn't it? There's going to be so many good races, but as you can see, they're December time, right? So we've got a little bit of time from now until then. We've got 6 weeks-ish to wait till some bigger dogs start to come out. Look at the Grade 2 pattern for over here. You see there's quite a few of them in October, and then there's lots and lots in November, and they still roll into December. Some of these Grade 2s are crap as far as I'm concerned. So just because it's a Grade 2 and almost Grade 1 level, Grade 1 form outranks all, regardless of how deep we might say the fields are. Like we know, the Challow doesn't produce potentially a Cheltenham winner out there, but it does produce some nice horses. If we skip over to the Irish sphere of it, again, some in November, but December's the big boy, where Cheltenham comes in for the British side of things. Between sort of Christmas and Christmas and Cheltenham, there's a couple of nice races like the Clarence House in there, and then a couple of other ones that are in there. The Tolworth. This in Ireland, like in between Christmas and Cheltenham, it gives us the window to look at the Dublin Race Festival and be like, right, we've had a focus on Cheltenham and the British Grade 1s and the Irish Grade 1s over Christmassy time. Then we can have a little bit more of a settle down time to reevaluate things. But it's going to start ramping up soon, and it's very exciting. The Morgiana meeting, I don't know, but I would like to think that Willie's going to unleash another sort of potential champion hurdle-ish beast in there. So it could be Vauban, I would have thought, for a 2-mile, because I don't think he will step up in trip. I don't know what plans are. Maybe there's already been a comment that's been put out there, but I'd love to see State Man take on Honeysuckle and the Hatton's Grace. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know, but there's some potential wind-up races coming up very early on. But again, we are in the middle of October, so there will be some horses coming out and horses doing bits. Doesn't mean they're not going to go and win races, but you might get some novices that come out that get overrated, overhyped, but they may also be forgotten horses when it comes to March because recency bias may kick in. So let's quickly talk about some of the selection of other people, and then I'm going to talk about the one that I've had a quid on. I don't want to go through all the races in every single video because I think it's just waste of time. But I think at the moment there is a particular market that I think is worth thinking about for the next few weeks. Obviously, there's some short-term anti-posts, so the likes of your Tingle Creeks and Ladbroke Trophy and all those things. I will not do a video on all of them now. I'll do when I've got something that I'm going to have a bet and they'll come up. So we'll leave them as they are. So this is more strictly going to be Cheltenham. So fuck everyone that doesn't want Cheltenham anti-post stuff. Stop watching. Anyway, I don't mean to be rude. I get so animated about it, but I don't understand it. It's like the Ricky Gervais guitar lessons, isn't it?
But I don't fucking want guitar lessons.
Well, it's not for you then, is it? Stop watching. No one's making you do it. Anywho, we're going to go into it. So we'll do Let's Talk Racing first because they are the hierarchy in the sphere. Up in the Antes back 5th of November, so I can't wait to start digging into them ones as well because there's some questionable selections that come out of there every year. But never mind, we'll go on to them as we come on to them. So Let's Talk Racing. Wrexham, Andrew Blair White put up, and a couple of other people put up on Twitter as well. I think he would run it early because I think he mentioned 66 in the videos. Don't know what price it is now, which I mean probably could be handy for me to start peeing that up while I'm talking. But he's I think he's a good ground merchant. He's entered Friday, Saturday at Cheltenham, so he could either run over 2.5 or 3 miles. But again, this is where I'll talk about like at a price you're free to throw a dart at something. Now I like the Albert Bartlett as a race, and we will all think of it more recently that you can sort of get stuck into a big priced winner of an Albert Bartlett nearer the time. But I do think it's handy, especially with these ones when they're bigger prices, to get someone on your team sheet because I don't think you'd want to back him if the price starts to go down. Let's have a look. I'm sure it was definitely the Spud that he put up for. I think it was 66 he said he backed for. I'm sure he put up at 33s in the video saying that was still available. I had a feeling that it had shortened up even more. Where is he there? So 25s you can still get about him. That's not a horrific price, to be honest with you, for getting someone in the book. And when I talk about buying the percentage of the pie, divide this by 1, or 1 divided by this, means you've got 4% chance of this going and winning. So it's costing you 4% of your pie. So when these sorts of horses go down to shorter prices, then maybe you've missed the price or missed the boat, but then you have to still be genuine value. You have to imagine how low can these horses go. And if you don't think they're going to get much lower, then I think with the anti-post perspective of time and injuries and all those things and variants and other horses that could come out, you're better just to wait till nearer the time. So if you thought this horse was maybe a 16-1 poke on the day and it's 25s now, I don't really see much value in back at anti-post. But then there is risk-free elements in there with cash outs and playing about. But yeah, Wrexham looks like a fair shout. I like the performances that he put up as well. Wouldn't be one for me like now that I'd want to be getting stuck into. I wouldn't imagine this horse is ever going to be short. And I wouldn't want to be looking to back to lay this horse or anything like that. I feel like that he's an okay price, so fair play for putting up. Josh put up. I know Josh put up. Ballymore, few selections from the Ballymore from lots of varying people, just lots of varying selections from people in there. So American Mikey put up, Gordon Elliott has confirmed that's pretty much where he's going to be going. I was a bit disappointed with his bumper runs in the big days, to be honest with you. I know it's second in Cheltenham, but I wasn't impressed at Punchestown the slightest. He's another one of those that I know historically we've had some shortish price favourites in the Ballymore. Last year was a bit of a rogue year, wasn't it? Because it was bad ground as well. And then, again, last maybe couple or few years, we haven't had that many good novices. I mean, the Brave Man's Game race with Bob Ollinger was like a pretty decent year, or at least it looked, didn't it? So I feel like we've got the options and potential for some half decent chances for like the novices this year. We'll obviously see how it all pans out, but American Mike there, obviously he's 7-1 favourite in theory because we don't think Facile Vega's going to go in. Now obviously if Facile Vega did, then American Mike's price doesn't probably look as good value now. If Facile Vega doesn't go in, American Mike does, then okay, well, it could look like it's a bit of a price. I don't think there's enough juice in it for me to be getting stuck in, but I get this. When you're tipping up, especially like trying to do it frequently, you've got to sort of pick your horses you want to get on your team sheet, and you have to go in early with some of them. So I understand why you wouldn't want to let American Mike run, go and win, and then he's a 5-1 poke and not put him up. But for me, I'm not doing anti-post betting, but for me, I haven't seen enough from American Mike to say to me that I want to get him in my book at this price. Doesn't mean to say he shouldn't go in there, but that would be my just 2 penneth on there. And like I said, a lot of these selections are going out there as well. They're not looking for maximal value. They're not saying, right, at this moment, this is the most valuable bet you could put on. It's almost like playful banter and chat between mates and opinions and races, isn't it? So like, he's going to go there. So that's what we think he's going to go there. Anyway. We're pretty sure he's going to go there. That's half of the battle in occasions, isn't it? So yeah, a couple of other horses that I've been told about, or I know have been put up. Firestep's been put up by Jamie And I also think Harps did that too. For Ballymore, and then Harps in his recent video. I'm not going to do all of his ones in this one because he's done so many up to now, but he mentioned Gaelic Warrior for the Ballymore. So like I said, there's a few people that are putting bits and pieces in and around horses and such. I think even that Marine Nationale is being mentioned for it, and so's Champ Keeley. Mentalness, isn't it, this early on? Anywho, I'm not going to do any more about Harps until the one I talk about with my bet. We'll talk about the finishing line because we've got the old jumper off. Dino Dave, where is he? I think he's in the boys' bed still. Dino Dave. Should get him out, shouldn't I? So they put up 3 bets. There was mention of a 4th. Put up 3 bets. And again, like, none of this is ever to dig anyone or anything like that. And I know having to go through all the races, like you've got 26 weeks or whatever it is, or 28 weeks, 28 races, trying to find winners for all of them, having to put up a selection. Obviously, handicap ones you'd leave till nearer the time, but there's only so many you can get stuck into, and especially this early in the season. So I get it, no digs or anything, but there was a couple of questionable ones in there, to say the least. But I like the level of questionableness that I can put in there. So, I mean, if you've watched the Finishing Line podcast, it's like proper decent watch, to be fair. Go watch it, because I like the longer ones. I like it when it's just back and forth and stuff. So, ever want a special guest, get me on. So it was, I'm flicking back and forward about 85 times. I know the race. So the first one up was Vaucelet in the Hunter's Chase. Now, there's been talk of this horse on Twitter as well, because I know that Josh put him up for the race last year at 33s. I even believe that I talked about this horse at one point last season. So, go us, eh? What I would say is, part of the argument was saying that he was coming into the right age of a horse to go and win this. I would like to just poo-poo that right off the bat. Galt stats. If you go on there, you can find stuff out. I'm not putting it up on the screen now. I've done another video on there. It shows you trends, all those sort of things. But again, Wikipedia, it's underrated for putting stuff in there. This is the Fox Hunters, right? In its entirety if I scroll up. But 1994 was the last time an 8-year-old won it. So this is not to say the horse can't win the race, but to say that he's coming into the right age for it is bollocks. Like 9, you could maybe say it's coming into it, but you can see how many double figure-aged horses are in there. So not to poo-poo him, but you can't use that as an edging. I'm sorry. So I've got to dip that one in early doors. And he's a 5-1 point for the race. And this is where, like, it's fine. Like, if you think this horse is going to go off short, like an even money poke or something, then maybe it's a bit of value. But Andrew himself said in there that he thinks he might be a 5-2, 3-1 poke. So let's be really mean and say, let's say we think he's going to go off at 3-1 and you're getting 5-1 about him. Forgetting the fact there's an anti-post bet and the time that's got to go in between there. That's, in theory, on that Kelly criterion I've talked about before, but it's like it's a 10% stake worth of a bet. So again, not saying it's a bad bet in any way, shape or form, but wouldn't be for my taking, and I don't think it's chunky enough to be getting stuck into. But again, you've got to touch these races at some point. You've got to get them in the team sheet, and a horse like this potentially is going to go off shorter. But see how the season goes, but could go off 5-2, 3-1 for sure. So if you're going to tip it up at some point anyway, and you know his price is probably only going to contract, understand why you put him up. But again, for following in perspectives, you don't have to have a bet on these races. Then Dave put up. Oh, yes, so this was a good one. Dave put up in the RSA. I mean, I really should be a bit more prepared, shouldn't I? Journey with Me, which is okay. And again, this is, not to be mean or anything like that, but I've watched the stuff before from the finish line. I haven't watched bundles of it, so I don't know what their view is on value. And maybe, I'm guessing the vibe of it is they wouldn't see it the same way as I would do. But Journey with Me mentioned, he sort of suggested to begin off that it was a 12-1 poke, and that's the lowest price that was available. So I don't know if it's affiliate links or anything like that, and that's not to, again, poo-poo. He's quoted the lowest price and he still wanted it in there, so that's fine. But he is 25-1 poke. So when he was making the case towards him, the fact that it's Henry de Bromedge Acer, and we know that Henry de Bromedge is going to improve a horse for fences. I feel like Journey with Me he did, to be fair to him, run really, really well last season. I felt like he was so hyped up just because he's the next Bob Ollinger. And you think how long it's taken Brian Aitchison to get a proper horse. Chance of him coming around like the Rikis did with the Supreme those years back, don't know. Wouldn't be like an angle for me, but that's not what his point was. That's just why I felt last year that people were getting on side with him. But I've watched a few of his races back, to be fair, over the summer, and he was, if he is an out-and-out stayer, he was running well at those trips. I don't believe he's an out-and-out stayer, to be honest with you, but I'm happy to be proven wrong on there. So when the case was going in there, when it was mentioned as 12-1, I was flabbergasted because I haven't really looked at this market, but I thought that's not a 12 spoke, is it? So that, for me, I would have been fully saying, don't touch it with a barge, which is brutal to say because you laying a horse at 12-1. Not saying much, is it? You're 1 to 12 to get it right, but it's risky if you get it wrong. At 25s, I like it. The people that were on him last year, like he says, he's probably more of a forgotten horse now, considering he did run pretty well in that Ballymore, to be honest with you. And I think he would have been fairly close to 3 Stripe Life in that race. So yeah, I don't mind that 25 to 1. Again, wouldn't be one that I'd back. I didn't get into him on the Ballymore last year because I wasn't doing any post betting, but that's that one there, and that's where I'm talking about the difference in those, like the value when you buy into the slice of a pie. Like I wouldn't even look twice at this at 12 to 1. You've got to remember, and again, I know it's comparing apples with pears, but you've got to look back. Remember, Monkfish was 10 to 1 at the start of the season. So this horse isn't 12s, is he? He's 25 to 1. But if this horse had been put up at 12s, off the back of what he has actually done, I don't think the price is in there. But again, they echoed this so many times, and it is true. They're right. Like, they're not the prices they probably should be this far out, but that's the game. And reality is, we were winning money anti-post, weren't we? Like, I feel rude to say it, but I think you're an idiot if you couldn't make money anti-post betting at Cheltenham. I still think you're an idiot if you can't make money anti-post betting at Cheltenham, but it is harder now, and that's fine. Those margins are going to come in, but there will still be some value about. So that's the second one that was in there. And then Tom tipped up something in the race that I'm about to dissect right now. Anyway, but we'll do Tom's. Do Tom's. I'll tell you what he put up. And again, it was a very balanced, like decently done argument, and it's a very hard one at the price that it is 20 to 1 to say don't back him. Okay, so that's the main thing I want to talk about. When I'm doing this stuff, it's not me to say don't back him. But again, you're going to see the big price difference, and you're probably going to work at which horse it is right off the bat of me saying this. So, it's in the Arkle, and it was Dysart Dynamo that Tom's put up. And it's a 20 to 1 poke. So it's a horse. He's a 21 poke. Now, let's just go broadly across here, right? He's a 12 to 1 poke everywhere else, isn't he? So this is a prime example where I would say, from like the value side of things, he could shorten up without even doing anything. My concerns with him, full stop, is Cheltenham. I thought he jumped trash around there. He was definitely way too wound up, and I know he was tanking and it was a long way from home, so we don't really know what would have happened, but I do agree probably with Tom. Not probably, but I do probably agree. That's the way to say it. No one knows, but I probably think that he might have been able to beat John Bon, but that's me being biased because I did think he was a better horse, or I thought he would run really well in the Supreme anyway. And then you see the price discrepancy between him and John Bon being 5 to 1 and then 20 to 1. I get it, okay? And I think that the main picture of that is Dysart Dynamo is definitely a little bit overpriced just because of the fact that everyone else has got him short, right? And potential and chance and all those sort of things. Like, he was a favourite for Supreme last year. When you look at the John Bon thing, it's not so much that Dysart Dynamo is much shorter than he should be, or much bigger than he should be. I think it's that John Bon's much, much shorter than he should be. And it's all the whole Duvan hype. I talked about in a video last year about Full Brothers getting hyped into 5-year-olds going in the Arkle. I know he's not, but I'm just saying those types of things we can all get eaten up into. I can't be anywhere near John Bon for an Arkle at the price that he is. What is it? Like 9 to 2. Like it's vile. But that's for another day. I'm going to run through some of them in the markets, to be fair with you, because I'm going to talk about the one that I put up. So Hart's put this up on his video. So again, I'll see if I can link his channel at the bottom. I think we can at people on handles now, but it's probably recommended to a few people on the side. But he does anti-post bets, and he puts a few up at a time. So this is gold. This is like when I was praising the Fat Jockey Forum before. You can go on there and you can find quite a few bets fairly often because people are talking about not necessarily whispers and stuff, but people have got like these views or these opinions, and they can make good cases for horses at reasonable prices. So he might be putting up 3, 4, 5 in a video, and he may be putting up a couple of videos a week. So not to say definitely he'll be doing that, but well worth going to watch it. And he's only like a 10, 12 minute video, tells you as much as you need to know without going into too much depth like I do, waffling. So he's going to be massive to follow this year, I would say, because I think you're going to get a lot of good ones out there, and especially like I've talked about different types of bets like block bets, multiples, all those sort of things, where if you end up getting 3 or 4 horses suggested to you in a Supreme, a Ballymore, and Albert Bartlett, you can block those 3 races up. If they're all 33 to 1 pokes, I mean, I know we're probably going to get shorter price ones on those winning, but you can build up some big bet slips with some bumper horses, some chasers at 33. You throw 3 darts in 3 races, for example, that's 9 bets. Whereas if you get 2 of them to come up for a £1 line, so we'll say £9 is what you've staked, you'd have 33 to 1 winner going on to another 33 to 1 poke. You're making chunks of cash. Like, you've got the chance of £1,000 off of just listening to people's opinions and taking those sort of lower risk punts. So That's a lot of sort of waffling to go and look at him. But he has also put up Monmoral for the Arkle. And I say he's also put up. This isn't necessarily me putting him up. I'm just telling you I've had a bet. I've had 50 quid on the exchange. I only got matched just over 34.0, so 33 to 1. I was waiting a little bit for Paul Nicholls to come out and see what was going on. Because do you remember after he was a juvenile, right? Lots of people liked this horse for an Arkle. And obviously didn't go over fences, which I like. I don't want a 5-year-old going over there. And we know that Nicholls is happy to take his time with him. Now, last season, in the Fighting Fifth, didn't expect him to go and win there. Epatante obviously dead heats with Not So Sleepy, but he was clearly wrong very early on. I was at Newbury that day, watching it with a couple of mates, and I said it after 2 jumps. I said, there's something wrong with him. He's not right. You could tell in his stride length that there was something wrong with him. And he was lame, so line through that. But obviously being lame, there was something wrong with him, okay? Then he's come back after. He ran... I should really just get the stuff up, shouldn't I? He ran the Goshen race, wasn't it? Where I think they were closest. Anyway, he travelled over 2.5 miles for a long, long way. And if you watch it back, he looked like the winner, and then he just absolutely emptied out. Now, Harry Cobden after the race said he was really pleased with that. I think they were thinking that that's going to put him on spot on for Aintree. And I sort of kind of got built into that a bit for Aintree. I thought he might be a bet, you know. And it's silly because I said about Epatante for the mares and whatever with that particular race. But I don't really think he wants a trip, to be honest with you. And I know there's been comparisons talking about sort of like he could be a Clanders Oboe type horse or a Frodon type horse. I think more with that, what he's talking about is a slow burner. I don't think he's comparing him in terms of stamina. This horse probably could stay, but you need a bit of that for an Arkle. So I'd forgive last season. The purpose of this horse is to go over fences, and it is potentially to go and win an Arkle. And what he did last year was okay. It's in open company still. We know how hard it is for the 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds to go and do that. So I was fairly happy with what he did last season, to be honest with you. And I think we can sort of line through it to an extent. And it is made to be a chaser. Like, he's by saint to saint. He's like made to be a chaser. And I know Paul Nicholls doesn't run lots of horses at Cheltenham full stop. So that's where I'm talking about the fact that I wouldn't want to put this up and say you got to smash into it. But I'm happy to go against that because he's had some good horses in the years. Like, if they can run in the races, they're running the races. The fact is, we talk about the British ones doing crap at Cheltenham. They don't have very many good horses. So if he's got a horse that's got the calibre to do it, I'm sure he'll send him there. I remember recently he had... I'm going to remember it now. It's Double D in it. Oh, it's going to annoy me now because all I can think of is Dysart Dynamo. Dynamite Dollars got injured, didn't he? But Dynamite Dollars would have gone in an Arkle, and I think Dynamite Dollars would have run well in there. So I feel like Monmoral will probably go to that Henry VIII Novices Chase that's on the same day as the Tingle Creek. There are opportunities for him to go and get some experience at Cheltenham because, yes, I know he hasn't run around there, but there are opportunities for him to go and do that. I don't think there's a lot in terms of the novice sphere over here that's really that good. If we look at the betting that's in it, he's just got to avoid Jonbon, hasn't he? And Jonbon probably, Nicky Henderson likes to send his horses to it in Novice Chase 2 Mile 2 thing at Kempton. Basically, I can't see these two needing to clash. So I think he's getting a bit of an easy ride of it. I feel like he'll go okay, and he could pick up those cheap grade ones I'm talking about, and all of a sudden he looks like a bit of a horse. I think he's forgotten. I think 33s is way, way, way too big. If we do look at the betting across the field, so like I say there, where Tom's put up Dysart Dynamo, and he's 20 standout with a bookie with cash out, and he's like probably say 12 to 1 general everywhere else. That's fair, isn't it? I'm talking about a horse here that's 33s generally, and I've backed it at 33s on the exchange. Like, I will stick some more up there to get matched at bigger prices if I can, but I personally feel happy with that as an entry point. So where I rave about value, I probably will confuse people in the fact that I'm saying the way that I'm saying it, but I think he's a fair price, to be honest with you, and I can only see him contracting. I feel like with Dysart Dynamo, we don't know how horses are going to go do, but I feel like Dysart Dynamo is going to come out and just twat a fence and then potentially not even stay over hurdles. So I can see his 12 to 1 generally going out. I can see it getting bigger, to be honest with you. And he could get close to Cheltenham, but I still think with certain horses like Notebook, how much he bombed out in the Ballymore, some horses just can't do it at Cheltenham. And the fact that he was so bad, I mean, he wasn't so bad, but he failed, didn't he? It was so bad jumping. Let's not like try and poo-poo that. Maybe he'll respect his fences more. I don't think so. I don't think he wants to go this way around. Maybe with more experience that way around, he'll be okay. But I can only see his price getting bigger potentially. Whereas I feel like with Monmoral, he's just going to win a 2 Mile Novice Chase, isn't he? And he's just going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. as far as I'm concerned. And I think he's clearly got some ability. So I'm going to run through some of the Arkle betting. Probably you're bored of the video by now anyway, but this will be the last wrap-up anyway, so stay around if you want to stay around. We just quickly run through some of the ones that are in there. So we've got John Bon, and I was looking at exchange price when I looked at this. So his peak official rating achieved, or Razor's rating, one is official rating, was when he just beat El Fabiola. And El Fabiola, say what you want, El Fabiola dogs that race. They put him in a hood and he didn't go through with it. So I don't even, in my mind, class that as John Bon winning a race, to be honest with you. They took the hood off of El Fabiola after, didn't they? So I don't think winning your peak when you've only just scraped home is a really good official rating. But he's 152 official rating, right? We've got Sir Gerhard in there, not coming to this race. Most likely, we're thinking. He's not going to come to this race. 155 rated. He was a Ballymore winner, wasn't he? He won that on a bog, and then he got beaten at 2 miles of punch time. Could be over raced, whatever you want to say. I don't see him as an Arkle horse. El Fabiolo, again, peaked his official rating at Aintree when he dogged it, but he dogged it and he doesn't hurdle great. So he could be another one. Like we know the Meniers like an Arkle horse. I think El Fabiolo could be okay. I can see why he's the price it is, but don't want him. Appreciate it. He peaked in that Supreme. Was pretty bad in that Champion Hurdle considering Willie Mullins can ready one. He is old and I've always thought he's a stayer, so I don't see it. We move on to Dysart Dynamo. He is 20-1 with Bet365 as a price because he's 12s on the exchange. I know Tom's put it up, and again, from the value side, I can see the point in with it. 150 rated. He was keen at Cheltenham. He jumped right. He wasn't good at Punchtown either. He was so bad there, and I know they might have given him an easy time, but I don't know. I've already made my point about Dice. I don't know, haven't I? We've got Mighty Potter in behind. He pulled up in the Supreme, which was like a bad day. I think he smashed into a rail on the way there. Didn't jump the greatest. He won the Grade 1 at Punchtown, but I've just talked about the two horses. Sir Gerhard and Dysart Dynamo both were nowhere to be seen. So we can't really use them as yardsticks because they were in behind. So I don't really like Mighty Potter. 150 rated is what he would come out as, but he's about 16 to 1 poke. Fildor, second fiddle to Vauban, 5-0 record on Arkle speaks for itself. Constitution Ill, monster, but he's going chasing. And he's State Man, staying hurdling. Quilixios won the Triumph, but couldn't beat Tiapu last season at all. And I think Tiapu's a 140 rated horse. I think Quilixios is overrated, and I think he'll be exposed in proper company, even though this is going into novices because it's novice chasing. Soaring Glory won a listed handicap hurdle last season, so that's as good as it gets. A grade 3 Betfair hurdle, it's not an Arkle horse, is it? Oh, he's not an Arkle horse, sorry to call him it. Where are we up to? Make sure I'm going in order. Flamebearer, I'm just going on the prices they were on the exchanges. Dual grade 2 hurdle winner, second State Man at Punchtown. Nothing to date to say that he's a grade 1 winner in my opinion, but that's like a 30s poke. Then we've got Adamantly Chosen, who's probably got a step up in trip, and I wouldn't definitely be Willie Munn's best chase this season. He's rated of 137, but that's only based on his hurdle ratings. We've got Monroe coming in here, so he's 33 to 1 poke, 149 rated, so I've touched on some of them in there. We know Appreciate is high. We know Constitution Hill is much higher, but he's only half a stone, let's say, probably less than that, away from some of these other horses, and none of them have jumping friends. They're all going to improve for it, and I think he's going to improve a bit more, for to be honest with you. And he was a bit higher rated before last season when he went off the back of his juvenile year. So he won that Aintree hurdle and he battered Adagio by 7.5 lengths. I think he's always going to make a better chase. Like I said, I've made a bit of my case towards him anyway, but I think he's an okay bet, to be honest with you. So I didn't want to just keep poo-pooing everyone all season. I want to chuck something up. If people want to give it a little bit back, they can give it a little bit back. But like I say, I've had a go on him. I've had 50 quid on him in exchange at 34. I'll sit on it for however long I need to sit on it for. But I already am going to exit 16s-ish, something like that. And I genuinely think he's going to go in a novice chase, crap up, and be a 16 to 1 poke after. If he goes and wins the Henry VIII novice chase, he'll be 8s, 9s, 10 shot. So this is where I'm talking about horses shortening up. I think he could end up going, he'll never go short, but I just think that the depth in behind isn't as strong as everyone's making it out to be. It isn't like a vintage Arkle. And I know John Bon will go and do some stuff, but I don't know, I feel like Monroe's got the capability of doing or being just as impressive as John Bon will be throughout the season. And I just think the prices are massively gulfed between those two. And I'm just comparing those two because they're British horses, not because they've got anything to compare them by. Like your John Bon, Dysart Dynamo. So there we are. I've told you about where I've put some money for Cheltenham. I do fancy some stuff this weekend, so I'll put a video out the weekend for entry points, things like that as well with them. I'm going to talk about Harp's bets in another video just because it would take me too long. I wanted to keep this half an hour. I'm already a little bit over. But yeah, keep an eye out. Just watch everyone else's stuff. Don't get bogged down with the stuff where people are saying it's ridiculous too early to watch Cheltenham. It's not. If you're betting on any post, you've got to be getting your head down now. And like I say, look at those entries, see where the horses are going, make your own opinion, chuck stuff in the comments for my videos, other people's videos. Get people talking, get people's opinions, because we've all got to learn from somewhere. And I feel, unfortunately, like 90% of horse racing knowledge is experience, and like 90% of anti-post betting and trading and finding value is trial and error. Like, you've got to make those mistakes. No one else is going to make them for you, and if someone else puts up a selection and they get it wrong, it's very easy for you to blame them than it is yourself. So take ownership if you're putting these people's bets on. Like I say, fair play, they're putting up selections. That's it. That's all it boils down to. They're being brave enough to pin their colours to a mast. They're not telling you this is the biggest value, that's the worst value, this is how much more you have on this one compared to that one. We can make our own decisions out of it on our own staking strategies and what we want to do. We are likely to have a couple or a few bets in each race if you're betting anti-post. So don't be afraid of that. And just get your general feel. Trust your own gut would be my biggest bit of advice, because you know, hopefully, over a few years of doing it, you know better than anybody else, and it will get to that point when you will get to that point. You've got to trust your own gut. And trust your own gut, and if you get it wrong, it's fine. Just, you're wrong. We all make mistakes. Like I say, I got Allaho wrong at the beginning of last season, saying he was too short a price. Thought he'd have too much of a hard race, and I thought he would not bomb, but I just thought his price could get bigger at some point, and it didn't. So we can get him wrong, but you trust your own opinion. Be wrong for yourself, don't because of anybody else. So enough waffle there. I'll do another one of these in a couple of weeks. There are going to be some bets coming out probably November-ish time, I would imagine, like lots of exciting stuff. Like I say, Up in the Ante will be out. There'll be more interest in certain markets, a bit more shaken up, and then going through Christmas is going to go wild, isn't it? So I'm going to keep giving my view on it, even though there won't be, well, there will be some bets. I'm going to start having a few quid on these ones that I think I can trade out of. And yeah, maybe one that you want to add to your bet slip. I mean, I do think that a lot of people talk about Monroe last season. I like him. I know we were talking about Nichols at Cheltenham, and I get that, but I like him. So he's on the slip. Best of luck to everybody else. So I will keep watching everyone else's videos. Anyone else in the comments you want me to watch, or selections or things you think I should go through. I mean, it's not like I'm the holy grail of this stuff, but like I said, I think it's good to have a counter argument to it. And you're always welcome on here, anyone that wants to come on there. And then, who knows, maybe I'll get a salmon invite to the finishing line one of these weeks. Anywho, I'm going to wrap it up at 35 minutes because it's almost there. And I will see you again soon.